Okay, there we go. So on Sabbath, we are on our Predators poem, and we're going to start under making meaning. We're going to skip comparing texts because, again, this one is just like, when you're done, compare it with the other poem. So we're not going to worry about comparing them yet. We'll do that when we get back from break. We are going to start with this concept vocabulary and just talk about these words before we do the first read part. So we have 3 words: cultivate, wild, and domesticated. Let's start with cultivate. Anybody know what cultivate means before we get going? Cultivate? Yeah, to cultivate something. Any ideas? Okay, let's look at it then. Cultivate means to prepare the soil for planting crops. I know. Well, now you know. Okay. So cultivate means that you're gonna like turn up the soil and get it ready to put seeds and stuff in it so that you can grow the crops, right? All right. Our next one is wild. I feel like I probably don't have to explain this one. What does wild mean?
I don't know. A wild animal, something that is not a pet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So not owned by someone, right? So living in nature without human control. They're not tame. So like a lion is a wild animal. Wolves are wild animals. Foxes. Lots of different things. Okay. And then we have the opposite of wild. What does it mean to be domesticated? To be tame. Yeah, to be someone's pet. Dogs are domesticated. No, animals, I mean, kind of. Technically, they're still wild animals. Yeah. So domesticated means that they've been changed from being wild to a tame state. So over the years, humans have domesticated dogs so that they're helpful. We can domesticate horses, cats, things like that. Just because you can domesticate all types of animals does not mean that you should, though, right? Like the chimpanzees. Mr. Turner talked about how a lady domesticated a chimpanzee and had it as a pet, and then she had her friend come over and feed it, and it ripped off her face. So you don't want to domesticate everything, right? So there's our 3 words that will be used in our story. I'm going to go ahead and close concept vocabulary because we just needed to review the words really quick. Oh, sorry, wrong one. And then we're going to do our first read, which we do every single time, correct? Our activity over here that is what do you notice? So who or what is speaking? And then we'll mark up a couple of things that are important, that we think are important. We'll try and connect this to our lives, other stories that we've read, maybe a movie you've seen, things like that. And then we will write a 2 to 3 sentence summary. So we'll do this after we read it first. So keep all these things in mind. And then let's read it. It's a very short poem. We're going to start with the background and the author and learn about them first. So those of you online, hopefully you can hear me now and you're listening after the fire drill. But I'm going to play this. It might be a little bit loud, so I'm going to play it in 3, 2, 1.
Predators by Linda Hogan. Poetry. Background. Habitat loss is a major threat to wildlife in the United States. As people use more land and alter natural environments, wild animals are forced to move into places where people and domestic animals live. Foxes are one type of wild animal that has been seen in residential neighborhoods in increasing numbers. A female fox is called a vixen. About the author. Linda Hogan, born 1947, is an award-winning Chickasaw novelist, essayist, environmentalist, and poet. Her writing often addresses topics such as the environment and Native American history. An activist and educator, Hogan has been a featured speaker at numerous international conferences and events on the environment and literature. She lives in the Colorado Mountains and is currently the Chickasaw Nation's writer-in-residence.
So, Linda Hogan is our writer here, our author. background information has to do with a little bit of animals, and we've actually talked about this type of stuff before, right? How species are going extinct or they're endangered because humans are moving in on where they're supposed to be living, and it's not good for them. They do use the word vixen in this, so it's important to note that a female fox is called a vixen, just so you have that in mind. It talks about it. Wow, it talks about vixens, so you want to know that that's a female fox. Other than that, let's go ahead and read our story, our poem. It's about 45 seconds long, so here we go. Listen carefully on this one. 1, 2, 3.
Predators by Linda Hogan. I cannot smell the scent of the cat who slept on this sweater, but do know how the garden swells with old and pungent herb art. In sun, the fox bows to my feline and her good dog friends who rule this land. I hoe and cultivate, find my dead aim in the trust that many tales spun this tract long before I came. The dogs do not understand wild nature. I also was domesticated. Oh, give me strength to watch their sorry looks as a bevy of vixen feed on a much smaller body, not the cat's, but it could be.
Okay. Nice and short. Let's just do the first read and see what we got out of that, all right? It's a poetry can be very subjective. Sometimes it can be difficult to know what it even means. So, yeah, we're going to talk about it, though. Hopefully it makes more sense as we go. So let's put the name of our story in, or our poem. It's called Predators. A vixen is a female fox. Alex, sit up. Okay, and then notice, this is where you kind of have to come in. Who or what is speaking? What is the point of view? So what do you guys think? Who or what is speaking? I don't know. Put what you guys think at this point, okay? Who or what is speaking, and then is it telling a story or a single moment? Okay, so these ones are what you guys think at this point. Your answers here are not right or wrong. It's just what you are understanding from your first read through the poem. Okay, and then I want you to go back and highlight one important detail. Like just a single moment in time, and not like a minute or two of time versus like a full day of stories. Okay, then you'll highlight one important detail, and I'm just going to scroll down really quick to the connects. You can connect this poem to other stories we've read, a movie, yourself if you somehow connect to this, other people, whatever you connect to, or however you can connect this to something else, go ahead and put that there. And then for the respond, we'll do a 2 to 3 sentence summary. And like I said, this part is not right or wrong. We just want to see how you understood this poem so far. Okay. So I'll give you about 5 minutes to do this. Okay. So go ahead and be working on this part, please.
Now, if you're confused about the single moment thing, like the fire drill or the single moment type thing, out of your whole day. So your whole day is not going to be all about that fire drill, right? Just one incident that happens. If that ain't making help with you.
everybody get a breakfast? The wanted one? Hey, did everybody get a breakfast that wanted one? Well, there's extras over here, so if you want a pear or another sandwich, what would you like?
That's fine.
The sandwiches will be good, I think it's till the end of the day. So, we'll leave the sandwiches in here until the end of the day, but I'm gonna throw them out later too, so. You want one? Drop it in. There's one left. Remember, if you take a fruit, wash it. Yeah. We've got 2 more minutes on the first read. If you're done, just like. We just reviewed the words. Okay, about 1 more minute, and then we're going to look at the next section. Yeah, that's what we're about to do right now. We're gonna do it together though. So, let's go ahead and look at our comprehension check. So first read, that's just your initial reaction to the story, so you can finish that up later. And then we are gonna look at the comprehension check. If you want to re-listen to it, you're more than welcome to. I think it starts at about 1 minute, so you can replay the story or the poem if you'd like to. But we are just gonna kind of go through this together. So, we're gonna write in complete sentences. I'm gonna make little bullet points, but I want you guys to write them as complete sentences because you are more than capable of doing that. So let's start with number 1 here. What is the setting of this poem? What do you guys think the setting is? You think it's an island? So, right here in line 3, how the garden swells with old and pungent herb art. So you think it's a garden? Okay. Does that make sense as we go through? They're gonna cultivate. Remember, cultivate means prepare the soil for planting. Does that go along the lines with it's a garden? Yeah, so let's write that. I'm just gonna put down garden. And you guys need to make that a complete sentence, please. That works. So make that a complete sentence. Okay, so about 1 minute, make that a complete sentence, please. All right. I think that was enough time to write a complete sentence out of the word garden and what the setting is. Number 2 says, according to the speaker, which we aren't necessarily sure who the speaker is, are we?
I think it's a fox.
You think it's the fox? But this question asks, how does the fox react? So if it is a fox, why would the fox say it in third person? What else? What other guesses do you guys think?
Well, yeah, it might be.
Maybe the owner?
Yeah,
Okay. So someone, a person that owns the garden is watching over how the foxes and the dogs and cats interact with each other?
Yeah.
Okay, that could be it. Doesn't really necessarily say, right? But we do know right here that it says that they hoe and cultivate, which means that they are the ones that are preparing it. Would you necessarily see an animal preparing the land to be planted? Not really, right? So we would assume that this is a human. Yeah, animals can dig holes, but would you expect them to be like, oh, I need to dig this hole so that I can grow a crop right here? Probably not, right? So we can assume that a human is talking, and at this point probably assume that it's the person who owns this garden, seeing the animals in their garden, right? So according to this person and the speaker, how does the fox react to the cat and the dogs? So if you look back through, it's a very short poem, so reread it really quick. How does the fox react? It bows to the felines and the dog friends who rule the land, so it bows. Okay. Anything else? At the end, right? That's actually number 3, so we're not going to write that down just yet. So it bows, but why? Why does it bow? Okay, good. Bows to show respect. It knows that it's not necessarily supposed to be in the garden, right? So it bows to be like, okay, this is your land. I'm not going to disrupt it too much. Maybe. So I'm going to give you a minute to make a complete sentence out of this, please.
Maybe it wasn't this time, but next time. You never know. You kind of leave it open.
Alrighty. Hopefully you have a complete sentence out of that. And then let's look at number 3. Remember a vixen? What is a vixen? A female fox. Good. It says, what are the vixens doing at the end of the poem? So what are these female foxes doing at the end? Eating something small. Okay. I don't think we need to... Eating something small. And if you want to add more details, feel free. If you think, whatever you think it might be, maybe. It says that it's not the cat, but it could be, who knows? So go ahead and make that into a complete sentence, please. Saw it when? That sounds cool. Are foxes ever like in hunting season? You can't hunt foxes, right? So you can? Okay.
You don't need a tag for them.
Okay. But there's seasons for like deer and elk and stuff, right? Okay.
Fox in this part of the state, you mainly have gray fox, small kit fox, about the size of a cat. I've seen a couple of red fox out there that are bigger than a cat.
Yeah.
My dad's seen a gray fox.
That's cool. I don't know if I could actually hunt myself, but it's still cool.
Your cool hat. Their gloves
All right. So hopefully you guys were able to make complete sentences out of those 3. And And then we're going to go ahead and close the comprehension check. We've done that one. And then we are actually going to skip a couple because, like I said, we don't really need to, we're not going to do all of them, basically. So we're going to skip the research. Don't need to do research. Let's do close read the text and just talk about what questions we have and what conclusions we can make. Because I think this is a good one to just think about the poem and think about what questions do we still have about it, and but what can we decide, okay, we know the answer to these. So let's start with our questions. What type of foxes? Okay. What other questions do you have? What animal was the fox eating? Okay.
Where was the, like, what place was it at? Like, what?
So where is it? So like we know it's a garden, but where is the garden? Is that what you mean?
Whenever I think of gardens like this, I always think of Peter Rabbit.
Peter Rabbit.
Because they're on
Yep, no, that makes sense. What other types of questions might you have about this one? Nothing? So are there more animals there? Good. And then maybe come up with one more on your own? One more question that you might have? Sorry, let me. Okay, go ahead and write that one down. So that one said, what is the guy growing in the garden? So maybe that is a question you're thinking of. I'll give you about 1 more minute, and then we will look at some conclusions that we can draw, some things that we can say for sure. Yeah, because poems like this, you don't necessarily know who is speaking, right? You have to kind of infer that and guess that on your own. Some poems are creepy and give you a little bit of like a, oh, I don't really know what's happening here type of tone and vibe, right? Have you ever heard of Edgar Allan Poe? Edgar Allan Poe. He was a poet in like, I don't even know when he lived. I want to say the 1800s. He wrote really, really creepy poetry. Like, they're like kind of longer poems, but they're creepy and they're about death and things like that. And they're really good, but they're creepy. I have one. I can pull it out of my files and show it to you guys later. We'll see. Huh? Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about some conclusions that we can draw, some things that we can say for sure about this poem. Let's do at least 4. We'll get 4 of these ones too. What can we say for sure? Can we say for sure that there's a guy in the garden though? Okay, but we can't say for sure it's a guy. We can say there's a person, but it could be a woman in the garden, right? So there's a person in the garden. What else can we say for sure? There's a lot of animals. What do we know about the animals? think about our vocabulary words. Okay, so there's some domesticated animals. What would be the domesticated animals? Like which animals there? Good, the cats and dogs. And then let's come up with one more thing that we know for sure. Okay, if you want to add that, go for it. So instead of there's a person in the garden, they're watching the garden. That works. Okay, one more conclusion. What else can we say for sure? Okay, so they're closer to nature than a city, I guess. They're not like on a city block and suddenly there's foxes all over the place, right? That doesn't typically happen. You might every once in a while see a fox wander into a city. But see, you live kind of on the outskirts of town, right?
Well, not really.
No?
Kind of. Just like a mile away. A mile and a half away.
Okay, so it could have wandered that far for
But
sure.
there's also a dike, like where and there's like elk and deer back in there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a little fun and came in right out and
That's cool. That would be cool to
then
see.
everyone seen coyotes right across the street from my house.
Dang.
I think they even had them in their yard too, because like our chickens have disappeared, like our last chickens.
I could see coyotes doing that.
We heard them like screaming really, really close. Like maybe they're outside in their yard.
Mm-hmm.
We even had them run across the street.
That's cool. Alrighty. So, like I said, we're not doing a whole ton with this story. So what we're going to do is stop here. We did a couple of sections here today. Tomorrow we'll do 2 sections. It might take us about a half hour or so to do tomorrow, and then we'll be done with this poem. And then when we get back from break, we're going to use both the poems, A Blessing and Predator's poem, and we're going to do some comparing and contrasting with them. But for this week, these 2 days that we have school, we're just going to do a couple of activities so that we get used to what this poem is about. Does that make sense? All right. So once you guys finish up this section, I'll leave it up for a few more minutes. Those of you online are good to head out. We have math at 10 o'clock still, so make sure you join us at 10 for math. But other than that, just finish up that section. All right. Bye, guys. We will see you guys later. Yeah, those of you here, once you